Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
Lord, we thank you that we can gather together for fellowship and the study of your word.
Herr, wir danken dir, dass wir uns versammeln können für Gemeinschaft und auch das Studium deines Wortes.
And Lord, we want to invite your presence now to be amongst us.
Und Herr, wir laden jetzt deine Gegenwart ein, dass es mitten unter uns sei.
And that you would please search us and try us and see if there's any wicked way in us.
Und dass du uns durchforschen möge und prüfe, um zu sehen, ob es ein böses Weg in uns gibt.
And that you would lead us on the way everlasting.
Und dass du uns auf dem ewigen Weg führen mögest.
Lord, we believe that you are a merciful God.
Herr, wir glauben, dass du ein erbarmungsvoller Gott bist.
And therefore please show us your mercy by passing by before us.
So bitte zeige uns dein Erbarmen, indem dass du an uns vorüberziehst.
And by showing us your glory.
Und indem dass du uns deine Herrlichkeit zeigst.
And that you would please prepare us by this for the Sabbath day.
Und dass du uns dadurch für den Sabbattag vorbereiten mögest.
And we ask and pray in Jesus' name.
Und wir bitten und beten in Jesu Namen.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, let me finish this here quickly. Okay, so yes, now we're back from Uganda. Okay,
So, jetzt sind wir wieder aus Uganda zurück.
and I hope that you're doing well
Und ich hoffe, dass es euch alle wohl ergeht.
and that we can now continue our classes as usual.
Und dass wir jetzt wie gewöhnlich unsere Klassen jetzt fortsetzen können.
Okay, so I thought of going through some points just as a reminder, and then I want to add one point to it tonight.
So, ich habe gedacht, nur zur Erinnerung, dass wir einige Punkte hindurchgehen werden. Und heute Abend möchte ich denn dazu was hinzufügen.
Okay, so let's begin in Genesis 15.
So, gehen wir in unseren Bibeln zum 1. Buch Mose, Kapitel 15.
And let's begin in verse 13.
Und fangen wir in Vers 13 an.
It says, And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward shall they come out with great substance. Okay, so we understand these 400 years illustrate the Sunday law.
So, wir verstehen diese 400 Jahre hier erwähnt, stellen das Sonntagsgesetz dar.
Okay, what were they to do during the 400 years?
Und während dieser 400 Jahren, was sollten sie tun?
So,
Sie sollten dienen.
so it's a time of servitude,
Eine Zeit des Dienerschafts.
and it should end with which event?
Und es sollte mit welches Ereignis zu Ende kommen?
Yes, with a judgment, right?
Mit einem Gericht.
Okay, and then they would come out with great substance.
Und dann werden sie mit großer Habe herauskommen.
Okay, and Sister White says the coming out of Egypt is also the coming out of.
Und Ellen White sagt, das Herauskommen aus Ägypten ist gleich das Herauskommen von Babylon.
So let's go to Jeremiah 25.
So gehen wir zu Jeremia 25.
And let's read verse 11 and 12.
Und wir lesen die Versen 11 und 12.
It says, And this whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. And it shall come to pass, when 70 years are accomplished, that I will punish the king of Babylon and that nation, saith the Lord, for their iniquity and the land of the Chaldeans, and will make it a perpetual desolation. Okay. So here, what do we see?
So, was können wir hier sehen?
Serving a period and then judgment.
Yes.
So, eine Zeit lang dienen und dann ein Gericht.
Same pattern, right?
Derselbe Muster eben.
So, but this time it's 70 years.
Aber hier erwähnt ist es 70 Jahre.
Okay. So, but the point I want to make is, the servitude in Babylon is the same as the servitude in. Did I say Babylon?
Yes.
Servitude in Egypt is the same as the servitude in Babylon.
Aber das Punkt, den ich hier erwähnen möchte oder machen möchte, ist, dass die Dienerschaft in Ägypten ist gleich der Dienerschaft in Babylon.
Okay, and afterwards this divine judgment comes and you come out with great substance.
Und am Ende kommt dieses göttliches Gericht und danach kommst du mit großer Habe raus.
And what other period is Sister White paralleling with the 70 years?
Und welche weitere Zeitperiode stellt Ellen White parallel mit der 70 Jahre?
Spiritual Babylon.
Yes. Yes.
Geistliches Babylon, also der 1260.
1260, okay. And at the end of the 1260 was there also divine judgment?
Und am Ende der 1260 gab es auch ein göttliches Gericht.
Yes.
Jawohl,
Deadly wound. Yes.
der tödliche Wunde.
Exactly. Okay, so, but who was it, or who was the first character that came out of Babylon?
Aber wer war der erste Charakter, der aus Babylon herausgekommen ist?
Yes, Abraham.
Es war
Right?
Abraham.
So let's go to Hebrews 11.
So, gehen wir zu Hebräer Kapitel 11.
And let's read verse 8 to 9.
Und wir lesen die Versen 8 und 9.
To 10 even.
Sogar die Versen 8 bis 10.
It says, by faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should after receive for an inheritance, obeyed, and he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise, as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs, with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Okay, so how did he come out of Babylon?
So, wie ist er aus Babylon herausgekommen?
By faith.
Durch
Right?
Glaube.
So it was this test of faith that he first had to pass in order to come out.
Also, es war dieser Test des Glaubens, die er erst bestehen musste, um herauszukommen.
And we understand the test of faith is always this final test at the end, right?
Und wir verstehen, dass dieser Glaubenstest ist immer dieser finale Test am Ende.
Okay, so for the first group here and for the second group here.
Für die erste Gruppe hier und für die zweite Gruppe hier.
Okay, so Abraham, he comes out of Babylon.
So, Abraham, der kommt aus Babylon heraus.
Okay, and when we go now back to Genesis,
Und wenn wir jetzt zurück zur ersten Buch Mose gehen,
15 again.
Kapitel 15 wieder.
And let's read verse 13 again.
Und lese Vers 13 nochmal.
It says, and he said unto Abraham, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. Okay, so about whom is it speaking here?
So, über wem spricht es hier?
His seed was
Abraham's seed. Okay.
Abrahams Same.
Okay, so therefore, who was literally Abraham's seed?
Und wer war buchstäblich der Same Abrahams?
Isaac.
Isaac,
Es war
right?
Isaak.
Okay, so, and now let's go to Exodus chapter 12.
Dann gehen wir jetzt zu 2. Buch Mose, Kapitel 12.
And let's read verse 40 and 41.
Und lesen die Versen 40 und 41.
It says, now the sojourning of the children of Israel who dwelt in Egypt was 430 years. And it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the selfsame day, it came to pass that all the hosts of the land of the Lord went out from the land of Egypt. So what does the Bible say? How many years were they in Egypt?
Was sagt die Bibel? Wie viele Jahre waren sie in Ägypten?
Exactly 400.
430, right?
430.
Okay. But what is again the difference between the 400 years and the 430 years?
Aber was ist denn der Unterschied zwischen der 400 und der 430 Jahren?
Okay, so let's go back to Genesis 15.
Gehen wir wieder zu 1. Buch Mose 15 zurück.
And let's read verse 13 again.
Und lesen Vers 13 nochmal.
And he said unto Abram, Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. So what would take place in the time of the 400 years?
So, was wäre denn in diesem Zeitabschnitt der 400 Jahren stattfinden?
Yes, affliction. Okay.
Sie werden sie
Bedrängen oder.
bedrängen.
Okay. So, yeah, the 400 years speaks about a time of affliction.
So,
Okay.
die 400 Jahre spricht über eine Zeit des Bedrängnisses.
But the 430 years, let's go now to Genesis 3.
Aber die 430 Jahre, gehen wir jetzt zu 1. Buch Mose 3.
Oh, did I say Genesis? Galatians 3.
Verzeihung, Galater 3.
My brain is still tired. Okay. Long journey. Okay, Galatians 3.
So, Galater 3.
And now verse 16 and to 18.
Und jetzt die Versen 16 bis 18.
And verse 17 is the verse I want to highlight.
Und Vers 17 ist der Vers, auf den ich besonders Aufmerksamkeit lenken möchte.
Now to Abram and his seed were the promises made. He said not unto his seeds as of many, but as of one, and to thy seed which is Christ. And this I say, that the covenant that was confirmed before of God in Christ, the law, which was 430 years after, cannot disannul, that it should make the promise of none effect. For if the inheritance be of the law, it is no more of promise, but God gave it to Abraham by promise. Okay, so what did Paul say? What came 430 years after what?
So, was sagt Paulus hier? Was kam 430 Jahre nach?
Nach was?
Also nach was?
Covenant.
So 430 years after, yes, came the law.
So 430 Jahre nach kam das Gesetz.
So this would be Mount Sinai, right?
Das wäre denn das Berg Sinai.
But after 430 years after what?
Aber 430 Jahre nach was?
Coming out of promise, that's good. Coming out of Babylon.
Yeah, it says here the covenant that he made based upon the promise, right?
So den Bündnis, die er basierend auf die Verheißung mit ihm machte.
And Paul says the law that was given 430 years after could not annul the promise now.
Und
That would make it of none effect. Yes.
Paulus sagt, dass das Gesetz, die 400 Jahre später gegeben würde, konnte die Verheißung oder das Bündnis nicht außer Kraft setzen.
Okay, so therefore the 430 years, they bring us back to when Abraham received the promise.
Also die 430 Jahre bringen uns zurück zu dem Punkt, wo Abraham die Verheißung erhielt.
Okay, so let's go now to Genesis chapter 12.
Gehen wir jetzt zu 1. Buch Mose, Kapitel 12.
Oh, actually, we can already begin in chapter 11 just to get a little bit context.
Wir können sogar in Kapitel 11 anfangen, um den Kontext zu verschaffen.
Let's read verse 31 and 32.
Und fangen in die Versen 31, 32 an.
It says, And Terah took Abram his son, and Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah his daughter-in-law, his son's Abram's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. So where did they start, and where did they make a like a stop? Yeah, Zwischenstopp. How do you say it? Like a
Around.
A
stopover.
Stopover. Yeah, okay.
So, wo haben sie angefangen und wo haben sie einen Zwischenstopp
Went to
gemacht?
Canaan, but they stopped over at Haran.
Yes, they stopped in Haran. Okay.
So, sie hielten in Haran an.
It says why it says there they dwelt for a few years. Okay.
Und Ellen White sagt, sie weilten da ein paar Jahre lang.
And then it says in verse 32,
Vers 32 sagt es weiter.
and the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and from thy father's house, unto a land that I will show thee. And I will make thee a great nation, and I will bless thee, and make thy name great, and thou shalt be a blessing. And I will bless them that bless thee, and curse him that curseth thee. And in thee shall all families of the earth be blessed. So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him, and Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. Okay, so where did he receive the promise?
So, wo erhielt die Verheißung?
When he was in Babylon.
Yes, when he was in Babylon, and specifically where?
Als in Babylon war, aber ganz genau wo?
In Haran.
In
Okay.
Haran.
And there in Haran, what did take place in Haran?
Und was fand statt in Haran?
Because when they came from Ur to Haran, who came up with him?
Denn als sie von Ur nach Haran kamen, wer ist mitgezogen? Das Vater.
His father and all the family members.
Sein
Okay.
Vater und alle Familienmitglieder.
But the separation took place then in Haran.
Aber
Okay.
die Trennung fand in Haran statt.
Now this is where only Lot went out with Abram, but all the others remained in Babylon.
Es ist in Haran, dass nur Lot mit Abraham herauszog, alle anderen blieben in Babylon zurück.
It's like the seventh year. You know, the seventh year you come out at the beginning, but you're not fully out till the end. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So in chapter 11, verse 31, it says, and Terah took Abraham the son of Lot, the son of Haran, the sons, and Sarah the daughter-in-law, and sons Abram's wife, and they went forth with them from Ur the Chaldees. So that would be the beginning of the seventh plague.
Mhm.
But at the end of the seventh plague, they come out of Haran. That's them now fully be free, if you get my point.
So, der Punkt, der gemacht wurde, ist es wie am am Beginn der 7. Jahr, wo sie aus Ur herauskommen, und da kann man lesen in 1. Buch Mose Kapitel 11, Vers 31, dass sie aus Ur herauskommen mit der ganzen Familie und sowas. Aber am Ende der 7. Plage, da werden sie ganz herauskommen, nämlich wenn sie aus Haran herauskommen.
There's definitely then at the end when they come out of Haran, there's the separation.
Das ist
taking
auf jeden
place.
Fall
Covenant is
am Ende, wenn sie aus Haran herauskommen, dass es diese Trennung gibt.
Because what does this Lord say? What was when he came out of Haran?
Denn was
What was
sagt
it for Abram?
Ellen White? Great test. Was sagt Ellen White, wenn Abraham aus Haran herauskam? Was war das für ihn?
It was a great test of.
Es war ein großes
Faith, right?
Test des Glaubens.
So this would be this final test where then the separation takes place between them that have faith and them that don't have faith. Okay?
Das wäre denn dieser Test des Glaubens, also dieser finale Test, wo diese Trennung gibt zwischen diejenigen, die Glaube haben und diejenigen, die kein Glauben haben.
Okay. So Abram comes then out, and how old is he?
So Abraham kommt heraus, und wie alt ist er
What did
zu
we
dieser
read
Zeit?
in verse 4?
Das haben wir in Vers 4 gelesen.
75. Right?
75 Jahre lang.
Okay. So he's 75 years.
75 Jahre.
And then when you just turn a little bit further down in chapter 18, I think it is.
Und wenn man zur Kapitel 18 desselben Buches geht,
So this is when Christ came to Abraham and Sarah and said, next year you will have a son.
und
Okay.
hier ist es, wo Christus zu Abraham und Sarai kam und sagte, im nächsten Jahr wirst du einen Sohn haben.
Let's just read here verse 10, beginning.
Und wir lesen Vers 10.
And he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abram and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, After I am waxed old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? And the Lord said unto Abram, Wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, Shall I of a surety bear a child, which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed I will return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Okay.
Bis Vers 14.
And let's go now to chapter 21.
Lass uns jetzt Kapitel 21 anschauen.
Beginning in verse 1.
Fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said, and the Lord did unto Sarah as he had spoken. For Sarah conceived and bare Abram a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken to him. And Abram called the name of his son that was born unto him, whom Sarah bare to him, Isaac. And Abram circumcised his son Isaac, being 8 years old. 8 days old, sorry, as God had commanded him. And Abram was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born unto him. So how old was Abram?
So, wie alt war Abraham?
100.
100 Jahre.
So this would be 25 years after, right?
Das wäre dann 25 Jahre danach.
Okay. And now verse 6.
Jetzt Vers 6.
And Sarah said, God hath made me to laugh, so that all that hear will laugh with me. And she said, Who would have said unto Abram that Sarah should have given children suck? For I have borne him a son in his old age. And the child grew and was weaned, and Abram made a feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, which she had borne unto Abram, mocking. Wherefore she said unto Abram, Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. Okay, so when Isaac got weaned, what happened?
So, als Isaak entwöhnt wurde, was geschah?
Ishmael started mocking him, right?
Ishmael fing an, ihn zu spotten.
Okay, and then Sarah said, Cast out this bondwoman, right?
Sarah sagte, hinaus mit diesem Knechtmagd.
So let's go to Galatians chapter 4.
Gehen wir jetzt zu Galater Kapitel 4.
And let's begin in verse 21.
Und fangen wir in Vers 21.
It says, Tell me, ye that desire to be under the law, do ye not hear the law? For it is written that Abram had 2 sons, the one by a bondmaid, the other by a free woman. But he who was of the bondwoman was born after the flesh, but he of the free woman was by promise. And then verse 29 and 30.
Das ist die Verse 29 und 30.
So one was born after the flesh, the other by promise.
Der
Right?
eine ist dem Fleisch nachgeboren, der andere die Verheißung.
But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the Spirit, even so it is now. Nevertheless, what saith the Scripture? Cast out the bondwoman and her son, for the son of the bondwoman shall not be heir with the son of the free woman. Okay, so therefore, what does Paul say?
So, was sagt Paulus?
Cast out this bondwoman.
When Ishmael mocked Isaac,
So, als Ishmael Isaak verspottete,
what was it?
was war das?
Beginning of the persecution.
Beginning of the
Das
persecution. Right?
Anfang der Verfolgung.
This was the beginning of the persecution of the seed.
Das war das Anfang der Verfolgung von der Same.
How many years?
Wie viele Jahre?
400.
400 years.
400
Okay.
Jahre.
And therefore, how old was then Abraham?
So, deswegen, wie alt war Abraham?
105.
105. Yes.
105.
Was 30 years after he came out of
Das
Babylon.
war 30 Jahre nachdem er aus Babylon herauskam.
Now the persecution began.
Jetzt fängt die Verfolgung an.
Okay, so Ishmael
So, Ishmael verfolgt Isaac.
which is the seed.
Und Isaac, der ist der Same.
Okay, and therefore you have now this 400 years
Deswegen hier haben wir diese 400 Jahre.
of persecution. Okay.
400 Jahre der Verfolgung.
And what does this word say? What did Ishmael and Hagar do when they started mocking him?
Und was sagte Ellen White? Was tat?
Or why did they start mocking him?
Oder warum hat Ishmael und Hagar angefangen, Isaac zu verspotten?
They lost
Jealous.
they lost what they thought was the promise to them.
Yes,
Also, they were jealous.
yes. They hated him,
Also,
right?
sie hassten ihn. Sie haben das verloren, was sie dachten, ihnen zustand.
Okay, so Sister White, said that they hated him.
Ellen White sagt, sie hassten ihn.
And this brings us back to Genesis 3:15, right?
Und das bringt uns zur 1. Buch Mose 3, Vers 15 zurück.
Let's go there.
Gehen wir dahin.
And let's read verse 15.
Und lesen Vers 15.
It says, "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." So, where and when is this enmity placed in your heart?
So, wann und wo ist diese Feindschaft in dein Herz gelegt?
At the new birth, right?
Bei der Neugeburt.
And where is the new birth?
Und wo findet das Neugeburt
They
statt?
come out of Babylon.
Yeah, it's always at the end, right? When you come out.
Babylon herauskommt, am Ende.
Okay. So, and it's an enmity against,
Und es ist eine Feindschaft gegen
or a hatred against
oder ein Hass gegen Sinn,
sin,
gegen
right?
Sünde.
So, the Lord puts therefore hatred against sin in your heart always at the end, right?
So, deswegen der Herr setzt diese Feindschaft oder dieser Hass gegen die Sünde in deinem Herzen immer am Ende.
When you come out of the water.
So, wenn du aus dem Wasser herauskommst.
Yes, but Satan, when does he come out of the water?
Aber Satan, wann kommt er aus dem Wasser heraus? In
At
the
the end of
beginning.
the false.
Always here, right?
Immer hier
Or here,
oder eben da.
or his last deception here.
Oder
Right?
seine letzte Verführung eben hier.
Okay, always before the time appointed, right?
Immer vor der bestimmten Zeit.
Okay, but here false prophets come out of the water,
So,
right?
hier kommen die falschen Propheten aus dem Wasser heraus.
Yes, or also externally, you have the 4 beasts of Daniel 7 coming out of the water.
Oder
Yes?
extern betrachtet hast du diese 4 Tiere von Daniel 7, die aus dem Wasser emporsteigen.
So therefore, this is Satan's counterfeit baptism.
So,
Yes?
deswegen, das hier markiert Satans Fälschung der Taufe.
And what is he putting into your heart?
Und was setzt er in deinem Herzen?
Pride.
Hatred for
Jetzt kommst
Those
du.
that are good.
for righteousness, right?
So, er setzt Hass gegen Gerechtigkeit in deinem Herzen ein.
So therefore, Ishmael hated now Isaac.
So, deswegen Ishmael hasste Isaak.
Okay, and therefore he started persecuting him.
Und deswegen fing er an, ihn zu verfolgen.
Yes?
Amen.
Everybody follows?
Kann jeder folgen?
Good. So, and this leads us then that the seed is now for 400 years in captivity here. Okay.
Und das führt dazu, dass der Same in 400 Jahre der Gefangenschaft eben hier zu markieren ist.
Now let's go back to Genesis 12.
Gehen wir jetzt zu 1. Buch Mose 12 zurück.
Because there are always these fractals within the fractals, okay?
Denn es gibt immer diesen Fraktalen innerhalb der Fraktal.
And for instance here, when we go back to Genesis 12,
Zum Beispiel, wenn wir hier zurück zu 1. Buch Mose 12 gehen
and let's begin in verse 4.
und fangen wir in Vers 4 an,
This is now when Abraham left Haran, when he
Here.
left Babylon.
ist
Okay?
wo Abraham Haran verließ, wenn er Babylon
Would
verlassen
be
hat.
here, right?
Was wäre denn hier?
Okay.
Amen?
So verse 4.
Vers 4.
So Abram departed as the Lord had spoken unto him, and Lot went with him. And Abram was 75 years old when he departed out of Haran. And Abram took Sarah his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their substance that they had gathered, and the souls that they had gotten in Haran. And they went forth to go into the land of Canaan, and into the land of Canaan they came. Okay, so he took now all the substance, right?
So, er hat alles das Hab mitgenommen.
So he came out with great substance
So,
here.
er kam hier mit großer Hab heraus.
And where did he go into?
Und wo ging er hinein?
To Canaan,
In Kanaan.
which was
Und das ist was?
the promised land, right?
Verheißene Land.
So he came into the land.
Er kam ins Land hinein.
Let's continue now.
Lesen wir weiter.
Verse 6.
Vers 6.
And Abram passed through the land unto the place of Sichem, unto the plain of Moreh. And the Canaanite was then in the land. And the Lord appeared unto Abram and said, Unto thy seed will I give this land. And there builded he an altar unto the Lord who appeared unto him. And he removed from thence unto a mountain on the east of Bethel, and pitched his tent, having Bethel on the west and Hai on the east. And there he builded an altar unto the Lord, and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed, going on still toward the south. And there was a famine in the land, and Abram went down into Egypt to sojourn there, for the famine was grievous in the land. So
Vers 10.
he came into the land, and where did he go now?
Er kam ins Land und wo ging er dann?
Back in Egypt.
Back into Egypt.
Zurück
Okay.
nach Ägypten.
So just like his seed, he also now goes here to Egypt.
So
Okay.
genauso wie seine Same, er auch jetzt geht nach Ägypten.
Pattern.
Same pattern. Yeah.
Derselbe Muster eben.
So let's continue, verse 11.
Vers 11 weiterlesen.
And it came to pass, when he was come near to enter into Egypt, that he said unto Sarah his wife, Behold now, I know that thou art a fair woman to look upon. Therefore it shall come to pass, when the Egyptians shall see thee, that they shall say, This is his wife, and they will kill me, but they will save thee alive. Say, I pray thee, that thou art my sister, that it may be well with me for thy sake, and my soul shall live because of thee. And it came to pass that when Abram was come into Egypt, the Egyptians beheld the woman, that she was very fair. The princes also of Pharaoh saw her and commended her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And he entreated Abram well for her sake. And he had sheep and oxen, and he asses and manservants and maidservants and she asses and camels. And the Lord plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarah Abram's wife. And Pharaoh called Abram and said, What is this that thou hast done unto me? Why didst thou not tell me that she was thy wife? Why saidst thou, She is my sister? So I might have taken her to me to wife. Now therefore behold thy wife, take her and go thy way. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away and his wife and all that he had. Okay, so what do we see here?
So was können wir hier sehen?
Followed by coming out with grace.
Exactly. So also the plagues come upon Pharaoh when he's in Egypt, and he comes out with great substance.
Auch die Plagen kommen aus Pharao, wenn Abraham in Ägypten ist. Und danach kommt Abraham aus Ägypten heraus mit großer Habe.
So here he comes out of Babylon.
Hier kommt er aus Babylon heraus.
Here he comes out of Egypt.
Und hier eben kommt er aus Ägypten heraus.
And my comments on that, and she says that great fear fell, like that brought great fear on all the other nations when they heard the story.
Yes.
Mhm.
So Ellen White spricht darüber und sie sagt, große Furcht kam über
I
sie.
don't know if it says great fear, but she described it
Yes.
So wie große Furcht kam über alle anderen Nationen auch.
Yeah, maybe here I just post this. Maybe this is the portion you're referring to.
Ich lasse ein Zitat in den Livestream zukommen.
Patriarchs and Prophets.
Das ist von Patriarchen und Propheten.
Okay, everybody there?
Ist jeder da?
It says, The warning that had been given to Pharaoh proved a protection to Abram in his after intercourse with heathen peoples. For the matter could not be kept secret, and it was seen that the God whom Abram worshipped would protect his servant, and that any injury done him would be avenged. It is a dangerous thing to wrong one of the children of the King of Heaven. The psalmist refers to this chapter in Abram's experience when he says, in speaking of the chosen people, that God reproved kings for their sakes, saying, Touch not mine anointed, and do my prophets no harm. There's an interesting similarity between Abram's experience in Egypt and that of his posterity centuries later. both went down into Egypt on account of a famine, and both sojourned there. Through the manifestation of divine judgments in their behalf, the fear of them fell upon the Egyptians, and enriched by the gifts of the heathen, they went out with great substance.
Amen.
Okay, so we can see Abraham in Egypt is the same as the seed in Egypt.
So wir
Right?
können sehen, dass
His own
Abraham,
seed.
Yes.
Abraham in Ägypten ist dasselbe wie sein eigenen Same in Ägypten.
Okay, and they both come out after the plagues fall with great substance.
Und sie beiden kommen heraus, nachdem die Plagen gefallen sind, mit großer Habe.
Okay, now let's go back to Genesis chapter 13.
So, gehen wir zu 1. Buch Mose Kapitel 13 zurück.
This is just the last thought for tonight.
Der letzte Gedanke für heute Abend.
Sorry, Genesis where?
13.
13.
So just after he came out in chapter 12,
1. Mose 13, das ist nachdem er in Kapitel 12 herausgekommen ist.
it says, And Abram went up out of Egypt,
Vers 1.
he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him into the south. And Abram was very rich in cattle, and in silver and in gold. And he went on his journeys from the south even to Bethel, unto the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Hay. So where did he go to now?
So, wo ging er jetzt hin?
To Bethel.
Yeah, so where is he again?
So, zum Bethel. Und wo ist er jetzt?
Back in the promised
Yeah, he's
land.
back in the land,
Er
right?
ist zurück ins Land.
So he goes back into the land.
Hier geht er zurück ins Land hinein.
Okay, and let's continue.
Lesen wir weiter.
Verse 4.
Vers 4.
Unto the place of the altar which he had made there at the first. And there Abram called on the name of the Lord. And Lot also went with Abram, which went with Abram, had flocks and herds and tents. And the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together. For their substance was great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was a strife between the herdmen of Abram's cattle and the herdmen of Lot's cattle. And the Canaanite and the Perizzite dwelt then in the land. And Abram said unto Lot, Let there be no strife, I pray thee, between me and thee, and between my herdmen and thy herdmen. For we be brethren. Is not the whole land before thee? Separate thyself, I pray thee, from me. If thou wilt take the left hand, then I will go to the right. And if thou depart to the right hand, then I will go to the left. And Lot lifted up his eyes and beheld all the plain of Jordan, that it was very well watered everywhere, before the Lord destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah, even as the garden of the Lord, like the land of Egypt, as thou comest unto Zoar. Then Lot chose him all the plain of Jordan, and Lot journeyed east, and they separated themselves the one from the other. And Abram dwelt in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelt in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent toward Sodom. So, what can we see?
Was können wir hier sehen?
Yeah, a separation, right?
Eine Trennung.
So both come out of Egypt with great substance here,
So, beide kommen aus Ägypten hier mit großer Habe.
but one goes,
Back into
one goes to Sodom,
Aber
right?
die eine geht zum Sodom nach,
Which is
also
Babylon.
Which is
Babylon
Babylon,
zurück.
yes.
Okay, and the other remains faithful.
Und
Okay,
der andere bleibt treu.
okay, so there's the separation of the two classes
Es
then.
gibt diese Trennung der zwei Klassen. It's quite interesting because Abraham dwelt in tents and Lot went to the city.
Mhm.
And this in tents is the Tarian.
Yes.
So,
Okay, so everybody can see the pattern?
so kann jeder den Muster sehen.
Okay, so Abraham basically, he himself gave the pattern already that we have to follow. Okay,
So, er selbst hat bereits den Muster gegeben, die wir folgen mussten
Okay.
oder sollten.
and then his seed did the same thing.
Und
Okay,
seine Same tat dasselbe.
yeah?
Amen.
Okay, so this was just a short study just to remind ourselves of these things
Es war nur eine kurze Studium, um uns an diese Sachen zu erinnern.
and also to add this illustration of Abraham.
Und auch diese Darstellung von Abraham hinzuzufügen.
Okay, then I would say let's close with our prayer.
Ich würde sagen, lasst uns mit unserer Gebetsrunde Schluss machen.